Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be discussing Google versus TikTok. So this is an interesting one for me, obviously, as an SEO. I've been very much concentrating on Google search results for a really, really long time. But TikTok has come along, and it turns out that Generation Z may be using TikTok like a search engine. Which is quite disconcerting for Google, I would imagine. So we're just going to go through a couple of those notes today. I'll just quickly go through the main points. So is TikTok a threat to Google search? What are the privacy issues for each? Google traffic versus TikTok traffic. Vertical video in Google search engine result pages, and that's an interesting one. Short videos in Google search results. Trust and authorship, and then who loses will be at the end. So stay tuned as we go through it, and I'm just going to share my screen with you. There we go. Okay, so I have, this is Google Trends, and this is just a little snippet showing the amount of people that are searching TikTok on Google. So I just like the fact that it was on Google, to be honest. So you can see here the growth is pretty incredible and continues to grow in terms of people searching TikTok on Google, which is quite interesting. But let's go into whether TikTok is a threat to Google or not. So the first article I have here from Bloomberg is that Generation Z uses TikTok like Google, upsetting the old internet order. This is such an interesting article. So I'll go through a couple of the main points of this. But I think a lot of the time in business or when we talk about startups, we use the word disruptive a lot. And people love to use the word disruptive. This is truly disruptive. So TikTok have come in and they have essentially changed or picked up on something that maybe traditional search results are not feeding into. How people want to digest the content based on the questions that they're asking and the information that they want. The concept of Google, and I am going to exaggerate Google search results for effect, but having those blue links, those blue text links that you click on and you click into like a text-based article, that isn't necessarily always the way people want to digest information. Now, Google, obviously, they return video, they return images, they aren't just a collection of blue links anymore. But TikTok, when they concentrated on just vertical video, they did something different. And they have disrupted the actual kind of thought of what a search engine is even. So I'm going to go through and hopefully you'll be convinced by the end as to this particular argument. So Google is for search, TikTok is for entertainment, and at least that's how it used to be. For the rising generation of teens and young adults, TikTok is becoming the place to find information, taking on the functions of established internet giants. So we are going to TikTok sales are forecast to triple to 12 billion this year. Very big. Oh, very big for, you know, a fairly new company or new on the scene. So here's an interesting one. Roughly 40% of young people today use TikTok or Instagram over Google when searching for lunch recommendations. A Google senior vice president said in an interview with TechCrunch this month. The data came from a survey of US users aged 18 to 24. And the search engine, which is facing multiple antitrust lawsuits, points to such findings to call out the strength of its competition. So that vice president they have a quote: "We keep learning over and over again that new internet users don't have the expectations and the mindset that we have become accustomed to. The queries they ask are completely different." So Google themselves have kind of pointed at TikTok. They themselves have kind of identified that it is a search engine of sorts, and that it is actually directly competing with Google for those younger users. And of course, they're the users that all of the websites are kind of trying to bring in to generate some revenue for them through shopping, ads, etc. So I think this is just to go into privacy. So if we just say, is TikTok a threat to Google search? I would say yes. I do think so. And I think Google have kind of pointed to this themselves, but we can also see it that people are using TikTok in a completely different way to how Google do things. So just to look at the privacy issues between each kind of platform. So the first one we're going to look at is all the ways TikTok tracks you and how to stop it. So this is they're going into the history of TikTok a little bit. So it used to be Musical.ly, and then they fused that with another app, and the result was TikTok. I think they couldn't have known what they were going to create, but the popularity of it is incredible. Today, the social network has more than 1 billion users, double that of Snapchat and Twitter combined. And Twitter is around for a long, long time. With TikTok stars making up to 5 million a year on the platform. So now this goes into privacy though. So they have a couple of things about the age of people on TikTok. I do think this was a leftover from Musical.ly. So Musical.ly would have had a lot of children, a lot of underage people on that app. And I think that transition to TikTok, they probably did bring a lot of those users onto TikTok. So I could see how they might have been in trouble there for sure. Google wouldn't necessarily have those types of issues, especially for how long it's existed as well. It just wouldn't. So TikTok has faced criticism, and then in 2020, TikTok was banned by the Indian government, while former US President Donald Trump also moved to outlaw the app, a decision later reversed by President Joe Biden. TikTok denies that the Chinese government can access people's data. So then they talk about the tracking. Once you've created an account, the types of information that they're tracking. So they have your location, IP address, search history, obviously everything that you're interacting with on TikTok. It can collect biometric information. So, and obviously they're essentially using all of this information to serve ads to people. But as to whether that information is safe from the government is kind of another question. So then we can compare that with Google. And here's an article on 8 ways Google constantly invades your privacy and how to fix it. So I think when you go through this, you really start thinking, oh my God, like because there are so many Google products, and you may be using all of them. So you may be using Chrome web browser, which is a Google product. You may be using Gmail, which is a Google product. You may be using YouTube, which is a Google product. And you may be using Google Search, which is a Google product. And when they combine, if they're collecting data via all of the different places that they can collect data about you, and they're linking that data together using a unique identifier, now that becomes PII, that's personal identifiable information. So that becomes, it's your private information kind of being packaged up in order to allow advertisers to advertise to you. So when you really go through this, you start thinking, oh, wow, there's so many places where Google is picking up data about its users. So there's every email you type, yes, and that Google is watching as you type. So and Smart Compose is involved in that. So this is a really great article that kind of shows you how to turn off some of these features that might help you have a bit more privacy as well. Google Maps, that's another one I hadn't thought of. Google Maps, so they know where you've been using Google Maps, and it does store your location history. Again, there's a way to turn this off. It can be actually quite hard to find in Google products where you can go to turn off some of this tracking that's being done. To my knowledge, don't hold me to this, I think there is actually a legal case around that, that basically it's too difficult to find where you can turn off some of this tracking data, and that it should be made easier, and that is a legal issue. So don't hold me to that. I think if I'm correct, that is true. So everything you search in incognito mode, they say as well. And then they have some of the law cases. So Google has been, involved in like a huge number of legal cases around privacy. Everything you like. So this is to do with ad demographics and, how they're serving ads to you and the kind of picture they build up of you. Google Assistant. So you may have a speaker in your home, and they're also collecting data on that in terms of what you're saying to your speaker. Google Docs, it just goes on and on, right? So you can kind of see that because Google has its finger in so many pies, and you're probably using all of them, that it can link all of that data together in quite an invasive way to really track absolutely everything that you're doing, and then serve you ads on the back of it. So we've kind of always used these free services, and I suppose part of us using the free service is that we kind of thought, okay, you can track me, but I get to use your service for free. I do believe that people nowadays are much more aware of privacy, and I think that's why you see a lot of these lawsuits coming up more frequently now. People are kind of more aware of the value of their data and not to kind of give it away so easily. Of course, we have the Google Analytics situation in the EU, and I'll link my video in the description of this one after it uploads. But even the Google Analytics situation, so where they're talking about TikTok and they're saying they're not sure if the Chinese government has access to all of the data from people using TikTok. There is also a situation in the US, and this relates to Google Analytics, but I'd imagine it relates to a lot of data that Google stores on US servers. So with analytics, it was that because of NSA laws in America, they can actually request personal identifiable information from a US server, and they have to be given that information. And so because that exists in the US, this is why multiple countries now in the EU have said that Google Analytics is illegal as such, or shouldn't be used. And it's because the privacy on those US-based servers isn't 100% because the government can access it. So in a way, I do see that whether it's TikTok or Google, you actually have the same issues coming up around privacy, in my opinion. So we're going to go into what was this called? Google traffic versus TikTok traffic. Okay. So yeah, this is so good. This is so interesting. So TikTok surpassed Google as the most popular site in 2021. Not that long ago. So TikTok beat out Google for the most popular domain in 2021, according to data from web security and performance company Cloudflare's 2021 year in review of internet traffic. So it's surpassing, and this is incredible for like such a young company. It surpassed Google, Facebook, YouTube, and Netflix. This is incredible. Again, you couldn't have predicted the rise of a company like this. And I think a lot of people would have thought it wasn't possible to really compete against those companies that are so established, that have such a hold on the market. But again, it goes back to people just want to digest information in a new way, in a different way. So Google and Meta-owned Facebook are well aware of TikTok nipping at their heels, unveiling video features like Instagram Reels to keep up. So vertical video being the real driver on TikTok, and referencing the app when accused of having too much power and not enough competitors. So yeah, it is when they get accused of having a monopoly, I suppose, well, they can kind of use that to say, how could it be a monopoly if this company has been able to rise up and actually even surpass them, which is probably a fair point. So we can see how popular it is, and we can see some of Google's response to this. So Google, in my opinion, was a little bit slow when it came to vertical video. And even if you look at YouTube, which is a Google product, it took them a long while to actually even be able to render a vertical video. It was always landscape videos, long form videos. Even up to 2 years ago, I was uploading a vertical video to see if it could even handle the vertical video, and it couldn't. So they do have YouTube Shorts now, which is, their effort to kind of let people create a short vertical form video and a kind of a response to TikTok, now that they can see the popularity of it. So this is something that if you search, there are certain searches now in Google that will trigger this, and it's a short videos section. So you can see here, I just searched beauty tutorials. Now, at the moment, there's kind of a limited number of searches that will trigger this section. I do believe over time that this particular section will be triggered for more and more and more searches. That's just, it seems to be the way that search is kind of going, and it's what people want, it looks like. So at the moment, you'll see it straight away if you search beauty tutorials and you see these short videos. So where are they getting these from? So this one and this one, you can see are coming from YouTube Shorts. So that's their kind of vertical form, short form video, which actually they've really only launched and kind of allowed people to do this fairly recently compared to some of the competitors. Then they have one pulled in from Facebook, and of course they have one pulled in from TikTok. So even though we talk about these companies as competitors, Google is a little bit different in that Google isn't quite an ecosystem of its own that you log into, that you set up an account, that you upload content. Google is actually scraping the internet and finding content and then serving that content. So, you know, people would argue that you can't compare Google with TikTok because they're just so different. And that's why, because Google is actually just scraping the internet and serving what it found that you can now click into it. Where TikTok is actually its own ecosystem. You log in, you upload your video there, it only takes certain formats, and you're just interacting with the app itself. Where with Google, it's scraping everything. So as you can see, it has YouTube, it has Facebook, it has TikTok, it has people, you know, websites, it has blogs. It has people also search for, it has people also ask. So it may trigger a maps pack as well. You may see maps at the top. So there's just so many kind of different elements to how Google scrapes the internet and also serves information, that I would agree it is hard to kind of directly compare one to the other. But in fact, it might be an opportunity for Google as well to continue to scrape and serve this vertical video format. So as long as the apps and websites are going to effort to kind of serve the video in a way that allows Google to scrape it and present it, we may actually find that Google is quite happy scraping and returning a lot of vertical video for people's searches. And we may see that the face of search, or what we know now as a Google search result, completely changes on the back of that. So it's kind of just an interesting way to think about it, that they actually might work together. So to further my argument on how they could work together, I thought this was so interesting. I found this on my phone the other day. So it was beauty tutorials for beginners. Now this is a dedicated page on TikTok. So if you can see there, there's a scroll. You can see the result is coming from tiktok.com. So they have like a web version of each page, and that page is accessible to Google. It's accessible to us as well. And what they've done is they've created a dedicated page, and I'll show you now in a minute what that page looks like. And they've just taken their top videos for makeup tutorial, and they have wrapped it in structured data. So this is a way of presenting that information to Google so that Google can then take each video and make a carousel. So there's actually carousel structured data wrapped around this. So Google is reading the content on the page. It's enjoying that there is a dedicated page specifically for beauty tutorials for beginners. It's then taking the carousel structured data and the video structured data, and it's creating this carousel effect within Google search results. And I think this is really, really interesting because this is showing me that TikTok is actually using Google SEO. And not just for Google, you know, this could be picked up by Bing and by DuckDuckGo and by all of the other search engines. But it's so, so interesting to me that we would talk about Google versus TikTok. And here we are with TikTok using quite an advanced, like a smart SEO technique in order to make Google index this dedicated page that they've created, in my opinion, for SEO, and that it would create this amazing carousel of videos that people can click into. They'll end up on the TikTok app when they do that, and they can watch through, if they're on their phone, that is, and they can watch through all this content. So I just thought that was so interesting. So this is the page that they've created. So you can see here, this is on tiktok.com. It's on their Discover page. It has makeup tutorial for beginners, and you have each video down along here. And this is what is being picked up directly by Google and being served in search results. So I think that's so interesting. Just the fact that in reality, these two products may actually end up working together, and Google might even help TikTok, or TikTok might even help Google to stay relevant by allowing it to scrape its videos and serve them in Google search results. So to go to, I had trust and authorship as a kind of a little segment in this. I think it's a bit too much of a like big topic to cover here. So I might actually do another video around trust and authorship, because the requirements on TikTok and the requirements on Google will be quite different, and the way that content is displayed is quite different. So for the moment, we will talk about who loses. So in my opinion, because TikTok looks to be using SEO techniques in order to get Google to scrape its content and return it in search results, I think Google can basically through YouTube Shorts, through scraping Facebook, vertical video that we saw in that example, through scraping TikTok vertical video, and through TikTok seemingly being quite happy to create these kind of dedicated pages that they know will be picked up by search engines, and they know that a carousel will be created with these videos, that there might actually be a bit of synchronicity between the two. And in a way, TikTok might help Google to stay relevant in this kind of new era of search and what people want to see in search, how people are searching, how younger people are using search. So that's it. I thought it was something to just run through. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Please do drop a like and a subscribe, because it really, really, really helps the channel and spurs me on to do another one, a quicker snippet. I'll try and keep it a little bit short today. So I'll remove that. Thank you so much for watching. As I say, do like and subscribe. Drop a comment if you have any thoughts, if you have you need any advice around SEO, any advice, any kind of thoughts around like TikTok versus Google, or what you should be using for your business, what you should be advising clients about, whether your clients need to be on both, whether they can be on one, whatever it might be. Drop a comment and I will chat away, and thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.